Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Bit of a different kind of show, I think, today because I'm on my own. There's no one here to help me, so uh, that's going to be fun. So today's guest is someone that I met on Jackson Wheat's channel. Um, his name is as you can see, Rob Groen, although he even pronounces it differently, but it is Groen. So that's where the Dutch come in. Yeah, I invited Rob over. He's been on Orange channel lately as well. So you might have come across him already. So Rob, quick introduction. Tell us a little bit who you are and how you got to be on social media.
Well, as Pete, thanks for having me on, Pete. As Pete rightly said, my name is Robert Groen. I started getting involved with debates just because I was like really interested. I've always been interested, or at least like about 20 years or so in apologetics, which for in layman's terms just means giving reasoned defense for your faith. And I'm a committed follower of Christ. And I've always been interested in apologetics, especially for two primarily. First one being with atheism, and second with Catholicism. And I tend to like alternate between the two in different times in my life. And at this point in my life, I'm obviously more keen in the apologetics against atheism philosophically because I believe strongly that atheism is epistemologically flawed philosophically from the ground up. And well, I mean, that's why and as a follower of Christ, I obviously have to hold to that. And I believe that the only solid epistemology is building one's foundation on the Lord Jesus Christ. That's what I believe personally and philosophically. As side interests, other than that, I'm also kind of tied into them. Also, I really enjoy preaching and teaching, leading Bible studies, and also just on a more practical, down to earth, I guess, kind of level, if you may. I'm also a mixed martial artist. I study Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Muay Thai, and karate, and Aikido and Judo. I also enjoy reading. I enjoy exercise. I love action movies, particularly martial art movies. I love pretty much every DC comic and Marvel Avenger movie out there. And I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay. Well, there's one thing before we get into it. Because I was watching your show with Arn Ra, and that basically had the title your definition of atheism, and that didn't really materialize during the show. And so I've been watching.
No, I think
I've been watching a
yeah,
few of your
that's true.
videos. Hold on. I've been watching a few of your videos, and I'm not sure if you're working with the correct definition. So if you were to explain to me what you think an atheist is, can you do that real quick?
What atheism is, or what atheism is by definition.
Yeah, what an atheist is.
I would assume that an atheist is someone who rejects the existence of any god or gods.
What do you mean by rejects?
Like that they deny that they just don't believe that any supernatural being exists.
But that's not, see, and this is the thing where I think you're going wrong, because you're looking at it from a perspective that a god, especially the one that you believe in, is a proven fact, and atheists just deny that fact. Because I've seen you say that in one of your videos. You say it's self-evident, although it obviously isn't. So we're basically the easiest way to go about it is that you make a claim that a God exists, and we don't believe you. That is it. Because you have to meet your burden of proof. You have to make sure that you can prove to us that your opinion is correct. Do you see where I'm coming from?
I do.
Okay. Well, so about your own beliefs, that's usually the first question that I go with on shows like this. So obviously you believe in the Christian God. Do you have a
That's the only
specific?
one there is.
It depends on who you talk to. I mean, I've talked to different
Well,
people.
truth is truth. It doesn't matter if the Christian God is the only one there is, and that's truth, and there is no really arguing around it.
Exactly, but
That's how truth
we
works.
haven't yet established that it's truth. So it depends on who you ask. So can you tell me, are you a specific denomination, and what are your reasons to believe in this Christian God?
Okay. I try to be as, I mean, I'm not being dishonest about it, but I just don't like labels. I just prefer to be a committed Jesus following Bible believer, and that's simply it. Um, I don't ascribe to denomination. I just, like I said, I just try to follow the Bible and follow Jesus. That's it. As far as why I believe the Christian God, um, when I compare, say, Jesus to like Allah or Buddha or, I don't know, Hinduism, I don't see in any other religion or faith is better way. I don't see any other faith or worldview at all that anyone who could hold a candle to Jesus. And I don't see any other faith where you see God literally coming to earth and dying for his lost world and his creatures. And I think the reason that I find the Christian God makes most sense to me is because it's obvious to all of us that we live in a very messed up world. Even you would admit that, Peter, that this world is very messed up.
I I,
And that,
I think we're getting
pardon?
better, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Well, agree, yeah, agree. But I mean, this world is messed up. I mean, we have wars, we have diseases, we have famines. Like, there's a lot of things that are wrong with the world. And the question the epistemology always has to ask is, well, why is the world the way it is? And I believe that us rebelling against God in the state that we are in now, I mean, you may find that an oversimplified answer, but I believe it to be the most accurate. And in that God made a way through Jesus seems to me to make the most amount of sense, and that the person who sacrifices himself has to be morally perfect. And when I look at the life of Jesus, I see a morally perfect man represented fully God. So, and I don't see that anywhere else ever. And I think that's, to me, that everything just makes sense. And when I live my life according to the Bible and following Jesus, my life has peace and everything lines up. When in times of my life where I don't live my life according to the Bible and the pattern set by God and Jesus, then my life derails. So I guess just by inference, observation, and my own experience in life, I just don't find anything else works except Jesus.
So let me try and steelman your position from what you just
Sure.
said, because all I've heard so far is I feel it makes more sense to me, but it doesn't sound to me that you have ever looked for any evidence or on whether or not what you read in the Bible is actually true. It is a book that maybe it speaks to you, and you think it's a cool story, but that so far that's all that you have. And you mentioned faith. If we go by the definition of faith in the Bible, it is basically um, gullibility. I mean, there's no other word for it. There's no evidence. You are supposed to believe, especially without evidence, and even against, even while there's evidence against everything. So why would
Like
you?
what?
Why would you use faith? Because
No, you said evidence against. What evidence is there against?
um, cosmology, evolution,
Yeah.
pretty much everything we know about the universe, about Earth, and about our own history is vastly different from the descriptions in the Bible. I mean, according to the Bible, we live on a flat plane with a dome over it, and the stars are tiny lights within the dome. We know that isn't true. We know that
Well,
the universe
we
is
know that,
older.
the Bible used different genres too, right? Not everything in the Bible is descriptive, literal.
I'm just going with how the Bible describes our universe. I mean,
No, but I'm just saying that how the Bible describes the universe isn't always literal.
but where do you find a different way of how the Bible describes it? It just describes it in one way. If that's not literal, then how do
No, but I
we
mean the
how
Bible
would we
employs different genres.
how would we know which parts of the Bible are literal and which parts aren't?
The same way we use any other kind of thing. The way we know genres. Like if I told you that if a cell phone I bought cost an arm and a leg, you know that it's not. I'm not literally saying that the cell phone I just bought cost me my limbs.
Sure, but that's a well-known saying. I mean,
Right.
I wouldn't go around and say, okay, I'm looking at the firmament, and within the firmament there's a sun and a moon and stars. That
Mhm.
that because we know that that's not true.
But I also think that we have to also. I mean, I'm going to do it because I think it's only fair that obviously the knowledge that people had in the Bible times is vastly ignorant to what we have today. So
I
also we
agree.
have to think we have to we have to kind of give some, I wouldn't say some area of, I don't know, I can't think of the word, but like leeway, I guess is a good word for the fact that they didn't know nearly what we know today. I think if the Bible people had the tools that they had that we have today, I think a lot of things in the Bible would be very different.
I agree, and the funny thing is, what you just said is that the Bible isn't the word of God; it's the word of the people who wrote it, who didn't have the tools to describe the universe, so they described it in as far as they knew uh, what it was like. But if the Bible is the word of God and God created everything, He would know better. And if he was the one who inspired the people who wrote it down, he would have told them,
Mm.
"Hey, you're living in a vast universe with other planets like Earth, maybe even other life." He would have been able to tell us whether or not there's other life in the universe, which is, I would say, more than likely, because it's I don't see a reason why we would be the only ones if there are planets that look exactly like the ones we're on under similar conditions. So why wouldn't there be life
I'm not
there?
really interested in that kind of conversation, but I think also, Pete, we have to understand the difference between divine inspiration to divine declaration. For example, God can tell me, "Hey, Rob, I know I want you to write down an account of, I don't know, just for hypothetically speaking, say, Rob, I want you to write down an account of how the plants um, how the plants materialize and how they come about and how we need plants and for oxygen and life and so on and so forth. And God gives me the declaration, but I still have human agency, right? So even the declaration still has the tool of the humanity to work through. And I, as a person, can make mistakes in the transpiration. Now, I'm not saying that happened with the Bible, I'm just saying, the human agency in me can still have the potentiality to mistake what God said in the translation.
I'm not sure if I follow, but I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't heard you say this, but I've heard a lot of Christians say this, that the God of the Bible is all powerful. Do you believe
Oh, for
that?
sure he is.
So if the God of the
But
Bible
human
is,
beings aren't.
yes, but if the God of the Bible is all powerful, then he would know a way of explaining the world and the universe to people, even in times back then. I mean, that
Yeah, but
would be an
can I say
easy
something?
task. Sure.
Yeah, also I want to comment to that. Okay, let me just because I think this analogy actually helps for the sake of what we're talking about. If people 2,000 years from now got a copy of this recording, do you think they're going to understand it the way you and I understand it right now?
If people 2,000 years from now, or in the future,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, most definitely.
Well, we don't know that because we don't know what people are like 2,000 years from now.
Well,
my
they
point
would,
is,
but they would have they would have the history of us, right? They would know as exactly as we know the history of the people who wrote the Bible, because we know a lot of their history. So we know, for instance, that around the time that the texts were written, there already was a knowledge that the Earth was a sphere and not a flat plane in certain parts of the world. So that's why it's kind of weird that the Bible says differently. It's so
yeah, I mean, and again, like if I think, but so my point is like there's context and nuances that we understand that we don't need to explain because we, first of all, we're speaking the same language. So there's the language, not having a language barrier is obviously helpful. Now, you and I don't know. Do you know any Greek, Hebrew? I don't know Greek or Hebrew.
I don't know any Greek or Hebrew either. So
Okay, so first of all, we're working on translation, right? So, and as we both know, you're a Dutch guy, so there's no perfect translation for the word gezellig from Dutch to English.
I can do you one better.
Isn't.
I can do you one better. Did you know that we don't have the word faith?
In Dutch? No.
No.
I did not know that.
No, there's no translation for faith in Dutch.
Okay, but gezellig is, I think, the best. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think gezellig is a Dutch word, right?
Yes.
That at best it can translate to maybe comfortable, cozy. That's kind of what it means, right? Generally.
It's gezellig is an atmosphere. So it's an atmosphere in which you feel well. It's a warm, as you said, a warm and cozy atmosphere. Yeah. But it has to do with the environment you're in, with lighting, with everything. So yeah, that's an entirely Dutch word. Yeah, that's an entirely Dutch word.
There's no perfect translation for it.
No,
right?
No.
Okay. Well, we're same thing with any other language. So when we're talking about Greek, which is the language that the New Testament was primarily written in, or Hebrew, which was the language that the Old Testament was written in, what we're working with is translation, and there's no perfect translation, which means, I know this is going to make me sound like a heretic to some followers of Jesus, but there is no perfect English translation of the Bible. There isn't, because there's no perfect translation.
Which would point to a not all powerful God. What did you say?
No, I'm just thinking God is using the means by which it was like the story of the Bible is still not lost from the Hebrew and Greek to what we have today in English. But there are certain things that just don't translate, like good example is in the Greek. There's like 7 meanings for the word love. Like, as we know, you don't have to explain them, because if you know the English language, you have no nuances. Like, if I tell you that I love my mom, it's obvious to you what kind of relationship that is.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, a good example of this is in a discourse between Jesus and Peter, when when uh, when Jesus asked Peter 3 times, "Peter, do you love me?" Now, the first 2 times, we don't get this in any English translation, is Jesus was asking me, "Peter, do you love me?" Agape love. Agape is the Greek word which stands for like fatherly love or the love of God. But the third time, he says, "Peter, do you love me?" Phileo. Phileo is friendship or brotherly love. Just an example that something gets lost in translation, but actually makes difference for what the text is actually trying to communicate.
Well,
But it doesn't take away from the whole story.
no, but so I was thinking of it, and Tsumami in chat thought about the exact same thing. Why would we need translations if God is, first of all powerful, and he's omniscient? He would know that in future, seeing that the entire New Testament is written in a dead language. There's no one speaking that language anymore.
Yeah, no, and you're talking about Latin, right?
No, I'm talking about Koine Greek.
Or Hebrew.
Because Koine Greek is a completely dead language, and we're still trying to discover certain parts of that language. So even if we would have a good translation, we still wouldn't have a perfect translation, because it's a language that died out long ago. And so an omniscient God would have known this, but he would also he wouldn't have to have the text written in a certain language. He would have a way where we would have the word of God in pretty much every language with no translation errors. That would have been possible for an omnipotent God, wouldn't it?
Would have been possible. Yeah, it's possible for God. But the problem is on our end, the human agency. And the Bible pretty much is in every single language. And the thing is, we think and speak in languages. So we need a language.
Yeah.
Language that we understand.
So God isn't powerful enough to create a human being that would have been able to write down his text in the correct language.
He did.
He didn't. He didn't. He didn't. He had the text written down in a language that is completely dead, where we're still trying to discover how to translate certain parts of it. So apparently he wasn't powerful enough, he wasn't omniscient enough to know that at some point we wouldn't have that language anymore, and we would have trouble translating it. He would know that by the time we have the Protestants who basically made it possible for people to read their own Bibles, that we would have a lot of different translations in English only, and he would know that we would get let's say people like King James, who even put his own writings in the Bible, edited it in a way so he could sneak in the fact that he was bisexual, because he obviously was, and make a
big fan of the King James.
Say again?
I'm not a big fan of the King James version of the Bible.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, he was the first one to use the fact that Jesus was gay in British government to defend the fact
that Jesus was gay. Where does it say Jesus was gay in the Bible? This is nonsense, Pete.
If you read the Bible, I think you can come to a fair conclusion that might have been the fact. But
because we hang out with men, come on, that's just ridiculous. You can't be serious.
Well, it's what King James thought, right? And it's in
King James is wrong.
If you look in the Americas,
that's demonstrably false.
I mean, if you look in the Americas, it's still the most used Bible is the King James version. It's the one that a lot of the Christians say is the one true translation. But things like
Yeah,
this,
they're wrong.
things like this could have been prevented if God had given us a Bible in English. For instance, you don't need a person to speak English in order to basically magically enchant them in writing a Bible in English, writing a Bible in Dutch, in German.
Yeah, like Pete, all you're telling everyone is how you think God would work, not how God
No, no,
would
no.
work.
I'm just a mere man.
I know.
I'm just a
I
mere
know,
man.
but your entire dialogue between me has been saying if God was this and he was
No.
all you're saying
Okay.
is if Pete was
I'll have to clarify then. I'll have to clarify that. I'm just a mere man. I'm not all powerful. I'm not omniscient. But
No,
I'm smart enough to think about these things. And apparently a being that is vastly more intelligent, vastly more powerful, knows everything, that being couldn't think of the things that even I could think of. To me that doesn't sound like a powerful or even intelligent being.
The difference between you and God, and or even me, I guess, thinks is that we would just do different things. We would do things differently than God does. The thing that God chooses to do, and it really amazes pretty much everybody, is that He chooses to use fallible people who are sometimes dumb, immoral, broken, and He chooses to use such people
How
to
do you
bring
know
about
this?
His work.
Because
He says it. he does it. Like that's
how
the
do you
whole
know?
point of
How do
Jesus
you
dying
know?
on the cross.
But how do you know He says it?
Because He says it in His Word. He uses people. I mean, it's inference. Okay, I guess it's inferred. He uses people.
No. What? Okay. Let me clarify this. Let me clarify this for you. What you're saying is the Bible says it. For me, there's still no reason, because I see no reason to believe what anything the Bible says, because the Bible
I see no reason to believe anything Darwin says. So whatever.
But
use that logic.
See, but education could help you there if you were willing to educate yourself.
Your kind of education, if you is what you mean by that.
My kind of education.
Yeah, what? I mean, like I don't.
You mean the things? You mean the things?
I'm not educated.
You mean the things we can observe, demonstrate to be true, test. Those kind of
observe macroevolution.
Yes,
you've observed macroevolution.
We have observed macroevolution.
I've never seen it.
Okay, but the fact that you won't educate yourself doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Well, it's a strong man, Pete.
Have you?
You mean
have you ever?
Educated.
Have you?
I'm not educated.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Ignorance.
Let me ask you a question. Do you believe cars work?
Of course.
Have you ever seen a spark plug ignite and light the gas in an engine?
No.
So? Does it happen?
Yes.
So that part you believe.
Are you really using that as an analogy for macroevolution?
Yes, I'm using that as an analogy because
that's ridiculous.
Because just like spark plugs fire, people have observed macroevolution. We're using it for our own good. I mean,
you're probably just saying, even though we're not observing it, we're still using it. That's really what you're just saying.
Okay. Have you heard about corn?
No. What do you mean? Talking about the actual vegetable?
Yes.
That's of course.
Yes. Where did corn come from?
The ground.
No, humans made it out of a Mexican grass. Corn is a grass. And humans cultivated it using macroevolution to get from one kind of plant to another kind of plant that they could actually eat. Same goes for broccoli, several other vegetables. Bananas are man-made.
Apparently we shared like 30 to 50% DNA. Are you saying we have a common ancestry?
Are we moving the goalpost, or do you want to address the thing that I just said?
So repeat your question.
So do bananas exist? Does broccoli exist?
Of course.
Okay, so are broccoli and the wild mustard the same thing?
No.
Are broccoli and cauliflower the same thing?
No.
So humans made cauliflower and broccoli out of the wild mustard plant using evolution, which is, do you think they're the same kind?
No.
So we not only observed macroevolution, we made it happen using the tools that we observed in nature to do it.
Really?
I mean, I can't help that you won't, and I use the word won't educate yourself. But why would you make claims and be proud of the fact that you have never looked into this, have no clue what you're talking about,
How
and
do you
then
know I've never
claiming
looked into this, Pete? You're just being
you
ignorant.
just said
you don't
so.
know I've never looked into it.
You just
No, I'm
said
talking
so.
about evolution. You don't,
I asked you. I asked you where corn came from. You didn't know, right?
Okay, that doesn't mean I don't know evolution at all. That's a straw man.
Okay, so tell me what you know about evolution.
I think evolution basically says that we have evolved every single creature on the planet from lower life forms to what we have today.
What's a lower life form?
Bacteria.
Bacteria is a lower life form.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know that that some of these lower life forms have DNA that have maybe 100 times more information than your DNA has, and yet that is the lower life form, and you're the higher one? Can you explain that to me?
How is that even possible?
I'm not. I know how it's possible, but I'm asking you whether or not you can explain this.
No, but I can't agree to something that I don't even know is true to begin with.
If you had studied evolution, you would know how it's possible. What can you tell me the definition of evolution? The scientific definition of evolution.
Scientific definition of evolution?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a scientist, but I'm gonna go with
what you said. You said you studied it.
Well, I have, but I'm not a scientist. I've only studied it in terms of like just knowing the basics of it.
Yeah, but the basics would be starting with the definition, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Okay, so what's the definition?
What's the definition of evolution?
Yeah, you're googling it right now. I would prefer to just say what you know, because we can all pretend to know more when we have Google at our fingertips, but that's not how it works, right? Because that would be lying, which would be going against, I don't know, something in the Bible called the ninth commandment.
Okay, Pete, stop. I have my hands are free, and I'm not. I'm just
using your worldview, right?
Okay, Pete, stop interrupting. I have, as you can see, I have my hands in front of me, and God is my witness. I don't have anything in the internet that says the definition of evolution in front of me. So I say that the definition of evolution would be adaptation of species, and the adaptation of species over time. And I would say that it's also the slow evolution of like the links in the chain, if you will, of adaptation over time of micro and macro evolution. Microevolution being there is obviously adaptation and variation between kinds in the species, and that macroevolution is several microevolutions over time. That
I wouldn't say. Sorry, I wouldn't say that that's a definition. That is your. I would say completely wrong misinterpretation of what it actually is. The definition of evolution is a change in allele frequencies in a population over time. That is the definition of evolution.
Okay. Well, that wasn't the word. I wasn't wrong. They were just.
You were.
My
You were
definition may be
because you already
unnecessary elaborate.
no, you already mentioned microevolution. What's micro? What's the difference between micro and macro evolution?
Micro is variation and adaptation of species. Macroevolution is the word that I said before, lower life form becoming higher, fully functioning forms over time.
So what you're saying is, because I was present when you were taught better, what you were saying is that you, instead of looking it up and confirming that what people taught you just a few days ago is correct, instead you just dismissed it and you go back to your completely invented definition of macroevolution. What did
what do you think it is? You tell me what you think it is.
No, you tell me what Jackson told you that macroevolution is.
I don't remember, to be honest.
Exactly. This is your problem. You don't want to be educated. That is your problem. Macroevolution is a change in a species above the speciation level, at and above the speciation level.
Okay.
And you agreed with that definition, remember?
I did, yes.
Until you disagreed with that definition minutes later?
No, I just forgot what it was.
No. You
disagreed.
You disagreed with it. It's on video. People can go watch Jackson's channel.
I'm not going to get into a semantic argument with Free the next hour, Pete. Knock this off.
You literally said that you would retract the fact that you accepted that definition. Is that not true?
I did. I do. I'd accept it. But I'm not going to get into the linguistic debate with you for the next hour.
Hold on. I think you misunderstood. You agreed with Jackson's definition at the start of the video. Then a few minutes.
For the third time. Yes, I did. I still do.
I wasn't finished.
Move on.
I wasn't finished. Why are you getting aggressive? Is it a problem for you that I'm pointing out things that people can go verify?
I don't like people repeating things. No, I don't like.
Because you're not listening. What's the second part of my question?
You interrupt me all the time now on the show, and you tell me to stop listening. You're a hypocrite, Pete.
I'm asking you what the second part of my question is. If I've repeated it several times, you know what the second part is, right?
That said, it's change over time.
What was the second part of my question that I was just asking you? The part you won't let me say because you want to interrupt because you don't like what I'm going to say.
Say whatever you say.
When you were on Jackson's show, I'll start at the start again. You agreed with the definition of macroevolution until a few minutes later, you disagreed because Jackson gave you an example of that definition, and you retracted the fact that you agreed with that definition. Is that not true?
What would be specific? What do you?
I just was specific. You agreed with a definition, and then a few minutes later.
What example? No, what example did Jackson give? Are you talking about? That's what I'm asking.
Jackson gave you the example of whale evolution, and then you retracted it. Jackson gave you an example in fruit fly evolution, and you retracted it. I could give you an example in the Italian wall lizard, and you would retract it because apparently an animal that has a system where it can only eat a certain kind of food and then adapting after being placed by humans in a different environment, getting a completely different way of digesting food, getting new organs is, according to you, impossible. So it didn't happen. So it can't be macroevolution. So it can't be a different kind. Even though it has organs that the original animal didn't have.
even though on Jackson's show, I did also say I altered my definition, but I guess you conveniently left that part already.
No, this is what I wanted you this is exactly what I wanted you to say. You agreed with the definition, and then a few minutes later, you said, I have to retract it. I'm not agreeing with the definition anymore because now you're coming up with an example I don't like, so I have to discard the definition. But my question to you was,
I had to alter it because I wasn't sure. It was clear to me as the.
My question to you is,
please let me finish for a second.
Okay.
You've been going on for about 5 minutes. Right, stop. Go ahead. Now. My point was I had to alter it because it was obvious as I was listening to them that what I was agreeing to initially was what I thought I was agreeing to. I mean, as they explained themselves, it was rather obvious to me that the definition that I was agreeing to was definitely what I didn't agree to my knowledge. Is probably a good best way I can put it.
Okay. And this conversation happened last Thursday, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I take it that
Wednesday. It was Wednesday.
Thursday. Oh yeah, Wednesday. Okay, even better. So that's almost a week ago. So I take it you've been looking through scientific papers to see whether or not Jackson was wrong, and did you what did you find when you studied to see whether or not Jackson's definition was correct or incorrect? What have you found?
I haven't studied. I haven't had time to study. I mean, it's like been a few days. I've had a lot of things on my plate.
You haven't had time to study, but almost a week later, you tell me that it's still wrong without having done fuck all to verify whether or not it's correct. But
is that really necessary?
Yes, it is necessary.
So the F-bomb is necessary.
Well, I mean, it's not as bad as, let's say.
I didn't say it was bad. I just asked you if it was necessary. Don't move the goalposts.
No. I'm just saying it's not as bad as calling people idiots. Would you agree?
Sure, but that's straw man.
Have I called you? Is that a straw man? Do you want me to post your video in the side chat again, where you call all atheists idiots? Not just once. I counted it. I counted it. Don't interrupt me.
I qualified it too.
I counted it. You said it 7 times. All atheists are idiots.
I qualified it on my YouTube channel. I qualified it on my YouTube channel and on my X. But of course, you conveniently
in that video.
No, listen to me. I qualified in my YouTube channel in a different video and on X about what I meant by that. But you either didn't know that or you're conveniently leaving it out.
I know a few things. I mean, you also on X. On X, you insulted on X. On X.
Did you know that I qualified? Did you know that I qualified? Yes or no?
That part I haven't seen. I'm probably you made some kind of retraction that I also wouldn't accept. I did see that you insulted.
I don't really care if you.
You insulted members of my family, so I had thought of going outside today and burn a Bible and stomp on it and see what that idea would do with you.
It wouldn't bother me.
It wouldn't bother you.
No, I mean I think it's foolish, but it doesn't do anything to me.
So let's get to that later. So tell me how you qualified it that all atheists are idiots. I'm really curious.
Well, the qualification I gave on X and on YouTube was that what I meant by that was that rejection of God is idiotic, in that rejection of God is idiotic, and because
a rejection of an unfounded claim is idiotic. Okay, go ahead.
According to Pete, but remember, Pete, Remember, folks, Pete is just one person, and his opinion only means.
Remember, you still haven't
Same thing
given
with me. Same thing with me.
you still haven't given me single reason.
Pete, shut up for a second and let me finish.
This is my show. I'll interrupt whenever I want. So you still haven't given me a single reason to believe that this God and this weird, silly person called Jesus ever existed, because according to the Bible, they have to be the dumbest people on the planet. I mean, and you think that I just have to accept it because you say so? That's not going to happen. I'm not like you. I have done the work. I have done the studying. I have looked into the Bible. I read it twice, cover to cover. I can probably cite you more Bible verses than you can. I don't have a problem with any of this. I've done more work.
Do you want to put that?
I've done more work. I'll have to mute you for a second because you keep interrupting. I've done more work reading the Bible and figuring out what it says and why it says it than you have ever done regarding evolution, because you don't care about actual science. You don't care because it goes against your already set beliefs. And that's why you don't want to know. You want to remain stupid in order to hang on to this unfounded claim that a God exists. And this is the part that I don't get. Well, we didn't get to the part where apparently Robert is a disgusting person who dislikes gay people, which is something that I would really have liked to talk about. But yeah, he already said that he didn't want to do this longer than half an hour, so he stuck around 12 minutes longer than he was supposed to be. But the fact that he ran away, I think that pretty much sums up the kind of person that he is. I don't feel bad about this. I don't like a dumpster fire like this. I also don't like people like Rob. People who are coming on atheist shows pretending that they're a decent human being and then going back on Twitter and being a vile and disgusting human being. And this is the part that I really have a problem with. This is the reason why I wanted to do this on my own on a different time. Because I wanted to have a go at Rob. Rob has a problem with interrupting. If you go back to watching Jackson's show or Aaron's show, the person interrupting the most, and you can see it from the chat, was Rob. So, yeah, whatever you do, don't be like Rob. Try and educate yourself. And if people are talking to you, especially when it's with people like Jackson Wheat, Dapper Dinosaur, or Aaron Ra, who have tried to at least educate him a little bit when it comes to evolution. And then after a few days, all Rob can say is that they're wrong. Aaron Ra sent him videos. He didn't watch the videos. He just completely dismissed them. It wasn't enough evidence for him in any way, shape, or form, but he lacks the capability of checking out whether or not the claims that are made in those videos or in the papers that people will send him, whether or not that's true. Because Rob is one of these Christians, and I've been on a Christian channel yesterday with a guy I call a friend right now. And so these are people who are willing to look into it, because I set up a conversation between one of them and Aaron Ra, because the guy wants to learn more about evolution. Robert isn't one of them. He is a perfect example of a dishonest Christian who thinks that for some reason he's a better person than anyone else because he's the guy believing in Jesus Christ, and that makes him something special, I guess. Um, and then he also wants to make people know that he's better than you. And if you go watch his Twitter account and his interactions with people, you can clearly see that that is what he's all about. Um, it's sad that we still have people like this on the planet. And as he said at the start of the show, um, it's not great. Uh, the situation we find ourselves in. It's people like Rob who keep us in this situation. Um, I want to thank everyone who was in chat for dropping by. Um, this was a very short one, but I guess I could have expected this because he agreed to an hour and a half, then said he was going to do 30 minutes. This was just to be expected. Thanks for dropping by. Do me a favor, leave a like and listen to our famous sponsor, the dear minister who's coming on next, and subscribe to the channel. Catch you all next time. Bye-bye.
Listen to this. Our visitors watched almost 18 million minutes of our videos on YouTube. I'm telling you, praise God. Can you imagine that? I want to say a big thank you to all of our YouTube subscribers and all of our partners. Now listen, if you have not subscribed to a YouTube channel, do it right now. Do it today. And all you have to do is click the big red subscribe button. Be sure to share our channel with your family and with friends, because it takes all of us working together to spread the word